few months ago, I shared 2 videos where I shared 10 pieces of must-have equipment for new formulators. Today, I am sharing 7 new tools that you'll want to add to your formulating kit as you progress to being an intermediate formulator. Some of them are upgrades, some are expansions, and some are brand new. There's no firm timeline on when you should start upgrading your gear. What I recommend doing is when you find that the equipment that you have is holding you back from the things you want to make, that's when you want to start thinking about upgrading. Let's dive in. The first item on my list is a better scale. If you are still formulating with a battery-powered scale, you will really appreciate an upgrade. Not only will a higher quality scale make your formulating life easier, it will also last a lot longer than an inexpensive battery-powered scale. All the inexpensive battery-powered scales I had lasted maybe a year or two, while the higher end ones I've had for some of them over 5 years and they're still going strong. There are 3 big upgrades you'll want to make to your scale, and these tend to come together when you are spending a bit more money. The first one is looking for a scale that plugs into the wall, and this will allow you to disable, or it will just already have, the auto shut off disabled. If you've ever been weighing something out and then just had your scale go bloop, I'm done, you know the frustration of auto shut off. Being able to disable it is a massive relief and weight off your mind. You're not going to be rushing me like, oh gosh, I have to get this weighed out before the scale just cuts out. It's great. The second thing you want to upgrade is the precision of your scale, especially if you are trying to work with a scale that's only accurate to 1 gram. I highly recommend getting a scale that's accurate to 0.01 grams, and then to make it as useful as possible, kind of dovetails into upgrade number 3, which is to the scale's maximum weight. My favorite scale, the one that I use all the time and that you have undoubtedly seen in my other videos, has a maximum weight of 500 grams or half a kilo or just over 1 pound and is accurate to 0.01 grams. This combination of a relatively high maximum weight and quite a good level of precision lets this one piece of equipment be my all-purpose scale for almost everything I make. My very first 0.01 gram scale had a maximum weight of just 100 grams. And the little prep cups that you often see me use in videos, those weigh about 93 grams, which uses up 93% of that maximum weight. So upping the maximum weight that the scale can handle really makes it a whole lot more flexible. My all-purpose scale is the Jennings TB500. I really like it. If you would like links to places that you can buy that and the names of the other scales that I have, make sure you're reading the partner blog post linked in the description box below. When you're setting priorities for things to upgrade, make sure you are thinking about the sorts of things that you like to make the most often. So if you are a soap maker and you're typically making at least half a kilo of something, you probably don't need to invest in a really precise scale because you are making really big batches. So that level of multi-decimal point precision just really isn't that important to you. So yeah, think about what you like to make and make decisions with that in mind. The second ingredient on my list is a mini fridge. As you grow as a formulator, your ingredient collection will grow right along with you. So I really recommend having a mini fridge to store your more delicate and expensive ingredients in to extend their shelf life. This is a great place to shop secondhand. I picked up my ingredients mini fridge on Kijiji for I think about $40. I keep most of my carrier oils and all of my hydrosols in my mini fridge, plus any ingredients that suppliers recommend be stored in the fridge. When shopping for a mini fridge, I don't recommend one of the cute little wee cube ones because they're so short and so much of them is taken up with the motor that there's not really room for taller bottles, which really limits its use. Item number 3 on my list is a digital pH meter. In my 10 pieces of equipment for new formulators list, I recommended either good pH strips or a pH meter, noting that while a pH meter is more accurate, it's also a lot more expensive. As you move into becoming a more intermediate formulator, you really do want that digital pH meter so you can make sure that your pH readings are accurate. My pH meter is an Apera AI311. As they're not inexpensive, I don't have a big collection of pH meters to compare this particular pH meter to, but I've had this for several years and it works well and I like it. So that's linked in the partner blog post too if you'd like to check that out. As always, there is a full partner blog post for this video that contains links to the pieces of equipment I'm talking about when it's anything specific, links to further reading, links to part 1 and 2 of the beginners list, heaps of extra great info, so make sure you check that out. It's linked in the description box below. Item number 4 on my list is borosilicate beakers. My suggestion for beginners is either heat-resistant glass measuring cups like a Pyrex or an Anchor Hawking type measuring cup, or beakers beakers. The measuring cups are often easier to get a hold of and you might already have some, but as you move into becoming a more advanced formulator, I really recommend investing in a set or 2 or 10 of beakers. As much as I love my Pyrex measuring cups, beakers have a few awesome advantages. One, they are lighter than glass measuring cups, so they use up less of your scale's maximum weight. Two, they're available in a much wider range of sizes. I have beakers in 25, 50, 100, 150, 250, 400, 500, 600, and I think also 800 milliliter sizes, whereas Pyrex measuring cups are typically 1 cup, 2 cup, 4 cup, 8 cup, and that's about it. Advantage number 3 is that you can pop your borosilicate beakers right on a glass top stove or on a hot plate, which just really opens up your heating possibilities for when you are formulating. And advantage number 4 is that you can buy beakers by the half dozen or the dozen from scientific and industrial supply stores, which just makes it a bit easier to collect a good sized collection of them. When you're buying beakers, make sure that they are proper lab borosilicate beakers and that you're not finding some cute ones at somewhere like Winners that are more decorative than functional. We need that glass to be the right kind of glass so that it is safe to work with. Item number 5 is lab spoons and glass stirring rods. And of course, my introductory list did include stirring implements, but as an intermediate maker, I think you will really appreciate the awesomeness of a long, skinny handled lab spoon, maybe a double-ended lab spoon, or one that has a bit of a spatula on one end and a spoon on the other end. They're great. And glass stirring rods. I love the utility of these tools and I use them along with my beloved spatulas all the time. Item number 6 is a hot plate, and this is another thing I recommend you pick up used if you can. Earlier this year, I bought a second-hand Corning PC35 hot plate, and I love having it in my DIY equipment arsenal. It's fairly small, but it is quite mighty with a heat range going from 0 to a whopping 510 degrees Celsius. If I turn it to just a notch or two above low, it heats to about 50 to 60 degrees Celsius, allowing me to heat ingredients to about the same temperature that they'd get to if I used a water bath, but I don't need the water bath. It's also really useful when formulating with ingredients that are a bit slow to melt, like polyamide 3, polyamide 8, or different cationic emulsifying waxes like BTMS 25 and BTMC. The hot plate I have is just hot. You can purchase hot plates that also have a magnetic stirring function, but they do tend to be more expensive. When you are shopping for a hot plate, the first thing you're going to want to look at is the heat range. When I was looking, some of the hot plates I found didn't even get up to 100 degrees Celsius, and that's just really not all that useful. You probably want it to go to at least 130 to 150 degrees Celsius. The next thing to look at is the size. Is it large enough to be useful? You know, you can get 2 or 3 smallish beakers onto the top of it, but is it small enough to store easily? And then lastly, take a look at the heat controls. Mine's just an analog dial, so I use my infrared thermometer to check the temperature that kind of each little notch gets me to, but you can get ones that have a digital, you can boop, 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 and enter it that way, though those ones are more expensive. If your home has a glass top stove, you can delay the purchase of a hot plate, though I have found that the hot plate does a lot better at very low temperatures, and I also just really love having it right in my studio and not having to go to the kitchen and then back to the studio. And lastly isn't really just one thing, it's in fact many things, which is just the general idea of multiples of the items that you use the most. I have multiples of beakers, my beloved spatulas, lab spoons, glass stirring rods, and glass prep cups. And I love having all those multiples. It means I don't have to stop in the middle of working on a formulation to go do dishes. And it also means that when things kind of inevitably break, my formulating doesn't grind to a halt until I can replace that single item. What you will want multiples of will really depend on the sorts of things that you make, but I do think that multiple beakers and stirring implements is a really good place to start. You may have noticed that none of the items on this list are, like great big pots and big stand mixers, and that's because nothing on this list is designed for large-scale manufacturing. This list is designed to help you do lots of iterations and small batches as you're working on refining your formulations at smaller sizes. If you are interested in scaling up, I'm afraid this is something I really never do, so I'm not a great person to give advice on this. I would recommend looking for makers who do make big batches of things. I know my friend Ariane Arsenault does this, and maybe getting some tips from them instead of me. So those are the 7 pieces of equipment I think you should upgrade to as an intermediate maker, but if you don't have the basic starter kit, what's the point? Click here for items 1 through 5 and here for items 6 through 10. Thanks so much for watching. Please subscribe and I'll see you next time. Bye.